Hi, I'm Steve from the Stone Crafting Workshop. Welcome. This is the Accuweight digital pocket scales. I bought them because I weigh out epoxy resin for some of the crafting things I do, and I thought, having owned it for about 6 months and been quite pleased with the way it works, I thought I'd do a review and show you why I think it's a good little thing to own. The first thing you should notice is how small it is. This is it in the palm of my hand. So it's a tiny little thing really. Easy to store, easy to carry around. So when you take this lid off, it makes a nice handy tray that fits on the scales, so that's quite a useful feature. The layout is fairly conventional, obvious. You switch it on and off and it zeros. The unit button, at the moment it's measuring in grams, and each time you press it, it cycles through the different units that you can measure in. It's ounces and back to grams again. The Tare button is pretty much what you'd expect if you put a container on the tray, the weighing tray, and press Tare, it zeros it. You can then add things to the container and it measures just what you've put in the container, not the container as well. All pretty conventional stuff. Let's just tear that again. So we now zeroed it again. When you first buy the scales, they are calibrated in the factory, and although there is in the booklet there is a process to go through to calibrate the scales for accuracy, quite honestly, unless you know what you're doing and you're certain that you have a weight of 100 grams exactly, and unless you've got that, I wouldn't mess about with them. I've found these are pretty accurate. If you want to check them out when you first get them, try weighing a £2 coin. A £2 coin should weigh 12 grams. And there you are. Now, as I say, I've had these 6 months and I've been using them for 6 months, and they still seem to me to be pretty accurate. Although I use these as workshop scales for resin most of the time, I also use them in the kitchen. So for argument's sake, you might want to weigh out, I don't know, some sugar, or you put your container on the weighing platform and you simply weigh out however much you want. It might be, I don't know, 20 grams, simply weigh it out. 20 grams, that's 20.4, that's near enough for cooking. It's actually very useful. I've used it. I've been on a diet recently and I found it very useful for weighing out things. And that's the weighing function. It's pretty simple, the machine. Incidentally, the batteries are in the back, accessed simply by a sliding function. Let's turn it on and off again. Let's assume that we're going to weigh out some resin, for example. You put your container on and you tear it to zero it, and then you might want to be weighing out, I'm not using resin by the way because I don't want to waste it. You could pour in four grams of resin, and then you might want to put in 1 gram of hardener. So there's two ways to do it. You could add it and add the 1 gram of hardener and it would come up to 5 grams, or you could zero it again and then add the 1 gram of hardener. You have got to have a very steady hand when you're doing this, and I'm not great at it, but that's near enough, 1.1 grams. And then you'd mix that up and you'd have your resin mixed. It's really good for accurate measuring of resin and what have you. This little machine has yet another handy function apart from just weighing and zeroing and what have you, and it's to do with this button up here that says pieces, PCS. Note here that I've got the tray, the machine switched off, I've got the tray actually on the platform, and if you just press it on, it automatically zeros taking into account this tray. Now I've counted out 25 components. It doesn't matter what they are, it could be anything from ball bearings to jewel refining. And I've put the 25 on the tray, which it weighs. But if you then press PCS and hold it, it now says 25. Press PCS again, and it confirms that it's weighed out 25 items and divided the weight of them by 25. If we take those off of the weighing machine and just put the tray back on, you'll see it's zeroed. And I'm just going to add 2 component parts, and it now says 2. If I add another 2, it says 4. And if I add another 2, it says 6. And you can see from this that if you were selling or retailing component parts, perhaps jewel refinings or small machine parts that you're selling in lots of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, this would be a really good way of weighing them out and measuring them out to send them off to your customer. I think it's a really cool thing. I don't use it myself, but nonetheless I think it's pretty cool. So there you are. The Accuweight digital scales. As I say, I've had them for 6 months. Really pleased with them. I use them both in the kitchen and in my workshop. In the workshop for weighing out resin, in the kitchen for weighing out small items of food, things like sugar and herbs and spices and what have you, things that you don't want to overdo. So it cost me 15 quid including delivery, and I reckon it's a bit of a bargain. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this, and I hope you find it of some use to you. I will say this, if you're measuring out super accurate things, pay more. These only cost 15 quid, and if you're weighing out diamonds or something like that, you clearly want to pay a bit more for your scales. But in terms of value for money and for reasonably accurate measuring, I think these are really first class. Thanks for watching. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. I like those. And if you want to see more product reviews and what have you, please subscribe to the channel. It's always good to have subscribers. Thanks very much. Bye.